Hey friend, welcome back to the Holy and Hungry segment of the Vision Driven Health podcast. This midweek episode is a short health devotional for you where you can bring your hunger to the table and be filled with what God has for your health. If you're someone who struggles to be consistent and you just feel like all that you have going on, maybe with the summer or just things in life, is constantly keeping you from sticking with anything you try for your health, this episode is for you. We are looking at the life of Joseph from the book of Genesis, and we're going to see how despite horrible circumstances and devastating loss, he stays true to who God says he is. And we're going to compare that to how we can stay true to the healthy lifestyle God is calling us to. Do you find yourself struggling to consistently implement healthy habits? Do you lack energy, confidence, and motivation because of stress, overwhelm, and shame for having not gotten it together by now? Friend, there is hope and grace for your health. Hey, I'm Robin Ryan McDonald, host of the Vision Driven Health podcast. I'm a follower of Jesus, a wife, a mama of two, and a seminarian turned health coach. And I'm so excited that you're here. I found myself in my early 20s captive to cravings and convenience. 20 pounds heavier, super tired, with a face full of acne. I could not figure out how to maintain healthy habits until I discovered the power of aligning my choices with God's vision. 10 years and 2 kids later, by the grace of God, I'm still prioritizing my health and feeling amazing. If you are over quick fixes and are ready to feel good in your own skin, then grab a giant water bottle and let's dive on in. We are in full summer swing here in the United States, and I think it is an unfortunately common experience to feel a little insecure about our bodies when it's time to start wearing shorts and tank tops. We can tend to feel less confident and more focused on what we perceive to be flaws with our body. If you struggle to feel confident in your own skin, I want to invite you to take advantage of my free resource, the Confidently His Devotional. Clients and friends who've gone through it have found new perspective and encouragement in taking hold of their value and confidence from God. You can get it today along with my other freebies at visiondrivenhealth.com/resources. If you're familiar with the story of Joseph, you know what an inspiration he is. He was the beloved son of Jacob, given a beautiful coat of many colors to set him apart. He was also given a couple dreams by God about how the Lord was going to work through him and how he kind of compared to his brothers, which then led his brothers to become quite jealous of him. And Joseph, like his brothers, was in line to inherit the wealth his father had. That's just how it worked. The sons of their father would inherit what their father had. However, because his brothers were jealous, most of them wanted to kill him, but they decided instead to sell him into slavery. And he ended up being stripped of his identity, his inheritance, and his dignity. To be sold into slavery was literally the worst thing that could happen. A slave, they were owned, they were property, and they had to marry a slave, their kids would be slaves. There was no out to being in slavery. And honestly, because he knew how loved he was by his dad, he knew the wealth that would have eventually been given to him. I'm sure he had an idea of what his life would look like as he got older. He had his own wife, his own family. All of that was stripped from him, and it might have even been better for him if he never knew what he was supposed to inherit. So to become literally the lowest of the low, a slave in a foreign land, nothing to his name, nothing for his future, was quite devastating. And yet, he chose to have integrity. He worked hard in every opportunity that he got, and he ended up rising in position because of his work ethic and trustworthiness. Even when he had the chance to sleep with a wealthy woman, he refused because he could have thought, hey, you know what? I've already lost everything. I'm just a slave. This lady wants to do this with me. He could have done it. He could have said, what do I have to lose? I'm already at rock bottom. But he cared more about honoring God and being who he knew he was, regardless of the status he was succumbed to, regardless of what was going on around him. And he ended up being put back in prison, even though he refused to do that with Potiphar's wife. She lied and said that he did do it. And so he ended up in prison for the very thing that he refused to do. And he could have just said, you know what? That's it. I tried to do the right thing. This is clearly not working. There is no reward for doing the right thing. At this point, he had earned favor from his father. That didn't go well. He had earned favor from God. That didn't go well. He got sold into slavery. He had worked his way up to a higher position in Potiphar's house. He ended up, trying to do the right thing, working hard. That didn't work out. He ended up back in prison. So all this effort of trying to do the right thing, trying to put forth effort did not seem to be fruitful. And truly, I think if anybody had reason to be like, you know what? Nah, this isn't working. This isn't worth it. I'm done. Joseph had at least an understandable reason to think that way. But that's not what he did. That's not how he thought. He still remained faithful. He maintained a close enough relationship with God that he still heard from the Lord, and he was able to interpret the dreams of two different men who are also in prison. And because of his faithfulness to the Lord and his willingness to hear from God and interpret those dreams, that's what got him a seat with Pharaoh, which if you know the story of Joseph, he ends up he really strikes a chord in a good way with Pharaoh, with being able to interpret his dream. He ends up rising the ranks with Pharaoh and becomes second in command over all of Egypt as a former slave in prison for rape. Talk about a turnaround. And I as much of a dreamer as Joseph was, unless he was just holding on to the dreams that God gave him, maybe that is what he held on to. The thing is, we need to hold on to God's promises and what he says, but I wonder if he could even fathom being second in command over all of Egypt. Yeah. And who knows how his imagination went sitting there in prison, but that is night and day, as opposite as you can possibly get to what his future looked like it would be after being sold into slavery. So what does this story have to do with healthy habits? Well, friend, I want to encourage you today, even when you don't see results quickly, even when the scale goes up instead of down, even when it feels like your healthy habits aren't making any difference, even when it's hard to cook at home, even when you don't feel like working out, even when it seems like God is distant and you've been praying and you've been trying to connect with him, you've been trying to take hold of his grace, even when the bad news keeps on coming, do not give up. Don't stop doing what you know is good for your body. Don't stop doing what you know is aligned with your vision for your health. Don't stop doing what enables you to have the energy and vitality to be and do all that God has called you to do. Place your trust in God. Believe beyond your current circumstances. Have faith that things will turn around. Don't let hope slip easily. Don't allow yourself to be someone who throws in the towel at the first chance of struggle, at the first opportunity that things don't go the way that you want them to. Be someone who perseveres. Be someone who takes God at his word. So friend, as you continue this week, I invite you to think of one or two habits that you plan to persevere on with no matter what. Something, maybe the thing you've been struggling the most with in your healthy habits, the thing that you make progress on and then you fall off track, or the thing that you feel like has been compromised because of how busy you are or what all you have going on. Pick that thing and be determined to stick with it and to know, you know what? Cooking meals at home is good for my body and it is stewarding my body. Going out for a walk every day is good for me. Getting a workout in is good for me. Making this choice over that choice, or choosing not to have the late night snacks or the desserts, or trying to use food to cope with stuff. Open up your Bible, open up your journal, Figure out what you need to do in order to stay true to who you are in God, regardless of the circumstances. And I'm not trying to compare what you're going through to what Joseph went through. I just hope what he went through can be an inspiration. You know what? This guy went through arguably one of the most difficult life experiences, and he still had faith in God. And the Lord wants to partner with you in your health. He wants to encourage you. He wants to meet you in that. He wants to bring you through. So with that said, again, I encourage you, pick what those 1 or 2 habits are that you're going to persevere with. Feel free to email them to me for accountability. You can email me at visiondrivenhealth@gmail.com. You can post it in my free community group on Facebook. I think it'd be cool for people to see which different habits are going to be posted and what you guys are all trying for. You can encourage each other with that. But I hope this has been an encouragement to you. I hope that this has been an inspiration and just a perspective shift on what's possible when you stay true to what God says is possible, what is available to you in Jesus, and what you can take hold of. Be blessed today, friend. Thank you so much for listening to the Vision Driven Health podcast today. I hope this episode inspired you, supported you, and blessed you in some way. If it did, it would mean the world if you would leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast and share this episode on your social media. The more reviews and shares this gets, the more people can be blessed and encouraged in creating a Jesus-centered, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. If you want to hang with me and other Jesus-loving ladies who are creating healthy habits that last, be sure to join my free Facebook group, the Made Well Mastermind. Use the link in the show notes to join. Be blessed with hope, joy, and health. I'll see you next week.